All right, guys, listen. The only thing that matters if you subscribe right now or comment or whatever you're doing right now, go to the page. What's the name? Oh, go to the page right now. I was talking to my friend right there, the sexy Chauncey the Bear. You know what time it is. There's two of us, and there's two of them, right? Those wrestling girls, there's two of them. Make sure to subscribe, like, watch, enjoy.
Queen P.R, Krista B, those wrestling girls, TWG, Black Excellence, making it effortless. Podcast bringing up women and wrestling. Let's go.
Hey everybody, what's up? We're back. It's those wrestling girls. It's your girl Krista B
and Queen P.R.
And today, I think we can safely say that this is the kickoff to our Golden Era Spring Summer series.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely.
I mean, because we were born in the Attitude Era, so Attitude Era is everything to us. But who are we to be talking about women's wrestling when we don't start from like the very beginning, which was like Golden Era? I mean, we could definitely go back to the 50s and 60s, and we probably will touch on that somewhere along down the line. But right now, we're in the Golden Era of women's wrestling, and so we had to start with the queen.
Yeah,
the queen herself, Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's
like
definitely the queen.
It would be, what's the word I'm looking for? It would be wrong. Wrong really wasn't the word. I was trying to find like a really more SAT vocabulary word, but whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, you gotta touch on Miss Elizabeth.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we do that, of course, we do our check-ins, and now P has this thing where you guys in the Twitterverse can ask us anything.
Yes.
So I want to do the ask us anything first before we do the check-ins. Because I feel like the ask us anything is
since
definitely
it's new.
Like, yeah, since it's new.
Okay, since it's new. I kind of want to find like a little like jingle or something. We gotta ask like our musician friends. Like, can you make us a jingle for Ask TWG?
Ask TWG anything.
Yeah. I was inspired by the Bellas because they do like an Ask Bella, and they do like their like pour up or whatever it was called.
Pop the bottle, pop that top.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, and I always thought that was cool. So
I think I'm inspired by the Bellas too, because hey.
Oh, actually, I got me some wine.
You should have got you some wine. Sis.
I really should have.
Maybe when we go and come back, you'll have your glass of wine.
Yeah, and we did Thirsty Thursday last night while we're recording this the day after, and I was definitely hungover, and it was one of our most successful Thirsty Thursdays. So I definitely want to shout out everyone that tuned in, all of our guests, Bakey, of course, we love you, baby.
We love you, girl.
And yeah, that was just like an amazing one. But Ask TWG is fun because I really want it to be about anything. Like, I don't necessarily want this to be about wrestling. Like, I think it's really fun. And I think like I also love getting your like reactions to things. So I think it's fun to reach out to our like viewers and stuff and be like, ask us anything. So please use the hashtag Ask TWG. And we will literally answer anything. Anything. So we're going to keep it light for the first one. And it is from @the_Jermaine on Twitter. Thank you for submitting a question. And he says, how much sugar is too much sugar in Kool-Aid and tea? Hashtag #AskTWG.
Okay, so growing up Black, right? If you... How can I put this? Because you don't want to put too much sugar in it to where your Kool-Aid mixture comes out like a syrup.
Yeah.
Like that's just a little, but I mean, half the bag is kind of okay.
Half the bag of sugar?
Yeah, I mean, all right, I'm exexaggerating.
Okay, so like, what we talking like pitcher?
If it's like a big pitcher.
Yeah,
Kool-Aid,
okay, gotcha.
A big pitcher, like I'm gonna say half a bag of sugar in a cup. Like that's just you trying to have a sugar rush, a sugar shock, sugar. You're gonna try to be in some type of sugar state, like. But if you have a big pitcher of Kool-Aid, everybody had that big pitcher of Kool-Aid, and their favorite flavor was red, aka cherry, and
cherry,
right. And you put probably about like and use the big spoon to stir it. So a big spoon, probably like 4, 5, 6 spoons of that big
Mm-hmm.
spoon in it. But it gotta taste just right. Like you can't want to like pour it in a cup and taste it
Yeah.
and taste the little sugar grains. Like you gotta
Oh,
mix it
no, no,
in
no.
just
Also, you
right.
really got to put that
You
arm
really gotta put
into
your
the mix.
right.
Like, you got to make sure you got the right spoon.
You
There's
got
always
right
that one
spoon
spoon in the house that you use to
that you
stir the
use. Your
Kool-Aid.
mixing spoon. You always got your
Right,
mixing spoon. That's
exactly.
it.
I can't even tell you the last time I've even drank Kool-Aid or even had Kool-Aid, but I would say you definitely got to put a good amount in. I don't remember it, like you would eyeball it. My mother always made the best Kool-Aid at one point in my life. But I remember like it can't be too sweet, but it has to be sweet
It has to be sweet.
because
Can't
it's
be too
very
sweet.
offensive, right? It's very
Right. It
offensive
can't be.
when you sip like Kool-Aid and it's like not sweet enough. It's just like
It's like it's like you bought
who made
sugar-free
this?
Kool-Aid.
Who let you make the Kool-Aid?
Like you can't come to the cookout for two. You can't come to 2 cookouts.
You're on probation
You're on
because you
probation. You
did
can't
not
come
put
to two
enough sugar
cookouts.
in the Kool-Aid. You know what? Just thinking about drinking Kool-Aid, and thank you at the underscore Jermaine for sending in this question, is that it's very nostalgic. Like I'm thinking I can taste Kool-Aid right now, and it just reminds me of like a simpler
A
time
simpler
in my life.
time. The 90s was the best.
We really grew up in the best era.
We grew up in the best era ever.
We definitely
Like
did.
the 90s was the best. I feel like this one had more questions. Let's see what another question
Oh,
is.
you want more questions? Okay.
Yeah, I want a little bit
Let
more.
me see. All right. I'm gonna ask this one because I think it's really cool. At Cammy D, our friend,
Hey,
lovely Cammy, hashtag #AskTWG. Any major goals for the podcast in the future? Any specific wrestlers you hope to interview?
Well, of course, we want to, expand those wrestling girls as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We will want it to be maybe syndicated. Maybe we get some syndicated plays, be on some type of radio networks. As for wrestlers, we want to interview everybody in the world.
I
Like,
know. I really want to just pick everyone's brain, and I
this
think
one right here, The Rock.
oh God, well, that would be amazing.
Rock,
God.
Becky, Taker.
Make it happen.
P got Stone Cold on her wall.
Oh look, and I got one of my favorite Stone Cold shirts on today from WWE Shop. Shout out to Mimi. She is a sweetheart. It was a gift. We were on a 316 panel on Wrestling Wind Down, and she gifted all the girls on the panel a Stone Cold shirt. And
that's dope. I should have got an honorable mention one, but it's fine. It's okay because once we have a Brahma Bowl,
rock person.
What am I saying? Once we have a Brahma Bowl, most electrifying in sports entertainment panel, then it's fine. But no, we love Mimi, absolutely. Yeah. I do want to, and I feel like we spoke to her a lot of times, but just to have her on the show one day, Big Swole.
I would love to have Big Swole on there. That would be amazing.
You know who I really want to interview? RVD.
First of all, we have to light something on that episode. I
feel like RVD would be like that 420 episode. Although,
oh my God, let's put that in the universe, please.
Like 420 RVD, those wrestling girls.
The wrestling gods have been really good to me lately in the last couple months, between the indie shows and like from Big Swole's promo at Battle Club Pro all the way to like WrestleMania, Stone Cold, like on all levels, it has been amazing to me. I have, as far as the people and the love that has been in my life, just recently, just because of wrestling, is like so dope. Right, but I would love RVD to like smoke with RVD. Like that's like the last thing. Not the last thing,
but like
just imagine that happening. And now I feel like that can like actually happen. But more people than wrestlers I want to interview. I want to interview more people that's like in the back end of wrestling. Like I love listening to all of Comrade Thompson's podcast, especially with Bruce Pritchard, because you hear the perspective of like someone that worked not purely backstage because he was an on-screen character too, but you hear different perspectives, and you have JR's perspective. Like I like listening to like the SummerSlam 2000 episode of Bruce Pritchard's podcast with Conrad, and then you listen to that same pay-per-view podcast with JR, and it's like from two completely different perspectives. And then you listen to like a wrestler perspective, like Jeff Jarrett. And it's like, oh my God, this is so interesting. But like they don't really put the same attention to like things that happen with the women in that context. So I would love to interview like Serena Deeb about like her time like as a coach, or Molly Holly now as a producer. Like I would love to pick her brain, or like Tyson Kidd about like producing all these
I
women's
would
magazines.
love to interview Tyson Kidd.
Like
Tyson
that.
Kidd is like an unsung hero in WWE.
Amazing.
An unsung hero, but I he can't listen to my rants about Natalia though, because he would never be on the show.
I mean, I'm sure he's heard it all.
And it's not like I'm not trying to. I would never shit on Natalia because she does a lot. I just feel like when you posted that Throwback Thursday of us and you were talking about Natalia's career, nothing has changed for me since, and that's bad. Maybe she's just not for me.
Okay.
Maybe she's just not for me. She's great at what she does. I'm loving this tag team that she's forming with Shayna Baszler. Cool. But maybe she's just not for me. And that's okay. Like I would never sit here and shit on her and take anything away from her. But she's just not for me in that sense.
No, I totally get it. Do you want to do one more and then we'll do our mental health check-in?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Okay. Oh my God, I swear to God, I did not plan this. I scrolled down our Twitter, I searched the hashtag, and at Benji, shout out to Benji, he's family too.
Benji.
At Benji Calavera on Twitter, hashtag AskTWG, thoughts on the GOAT Natalia Neidhart being in NXT. We haven't actually talked about this, so I'm thank you, Benji, for submitting that question. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I'm so upset that I turned off NXT on Tuesday because I was getting really, really tired. But then I'm hearing that her and Cora Jade had like the most amazing match of the night, and I'm like, damn. But I do appreciate her going back to NXT, not just for her. Like, I feel like the superstars on the main roster now going back to NXT are really doing something.
Yeah.
Like not even for themselves, but for everybody else who they're competing with, who they're, not competing with, who they're training. We don't know what they're doing in the Orlando Center when, the cameras aren't there. So Natalia going back and it's doing something. It's doing something.
I like it. I always love to like. And we talk about Natalia all the time because I always say like what I do like about her is like what she brings to like that next generation, because like that's what wrestling is all about. Like if somebody doesn't open it up to that next generation, like it doesn't grow. And with women, it's so far. You have men coaches everywhere. But for someone like Natalia, but like her knowledge and like she is, and like there's no one else like Natalia Neidhart. For her to go back to NXT and like teach these girls these things and like have these matches and like have these moments is I love everything about it. Like it's actually made me tune into NXT 2.0 because I would love if Natalia just showed up every week and just had a match with like a different like person, and then just because honestly that's what they were using her for in the beginning, like with Charlotte and and that kind of thing. So I love it. She is a GOAT. She is not, on-screen character is not always the most. She could, she's natty. Let's put it that way. But yeah, this was fun. I really like hashtag AskTWG. That's going to be a tongue twister, but I really like this. Be a tongue twister. So please send us questions. I know we said we weren't going to do a wrestler one, but I just thought it was funny that we were talking about Natalia and that was a Natalia question. We actually want to talk about more things in wrestling, and we will literally answer anything. So tag us with the hashtag and we will answer your questions.
Absolutely.
So, are you ready for our check-in?
Yeah, sorry. I'm looking because I think if this is true, they released the lineup of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just trying to see if it's true before I really say it, but I think that's it. And what it's looking like is Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Matt Riddle, and Kevin Owens. Or Ken Owens, depending on who we get, right? But I don't know. If that's the lineup, I feel like we can do some switching in and out. But that's for another day. Mental health wise, I'm great. I'm in a good space.
Oh, good.
Um,
You were just traveling too,
I
weren't
was
you?
just traveling. I was just in Atlanta for CultureCon, a video I shot and produced myself with the help of Joe. He put the finishing, editing, video touches on it for me because he's just amazing like that. It's currently up on WBLS's website.
Awesome.
And I'm very proud of myself. I'm very proud of
We're
myself.
so happy for you.
Thank you. I'm very proud of myself. Yeah. Like we said this year was going to be blessed, booked, and busy.
You did say that.
Or book, busy, and blessed. And that's exactly what we're doing. And I'm getting really excited because by the time this video comes out, it'll be 1 week until my brunch and panel, which I'm very excited about. Getting the finishing touches done on that.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm staying prayed up. Praying, making sure everything is aligned and all that. And hopefully my nail can grow back by then because I broke my nail. It's such a tragedy. It hurts so bad.
That is a tragedy.
But how are you?
I am actually really good as well. Like you said, I'm staying prayed up. There's a lot going on, but I'm good. Like I feel very secure. I feel very I'm still kind of like riding that like high from like mania, and I'm just trying to ride that momentum. And it's been good on like a professional front, on a personal front. Like I love everything about it. But I would love to. So I thought it would be fun to my good friend Brian H. Waters sent me some wrestling books. Yeah, I know I'm like wrestling books, wrestling documentaries are probably my favorite in the entire universe. And I don't know what books he sent me, so I thought it would be fun to open them.
Do an unboxing?
Yes. So
I want some books. Like I read too. I do read. I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
Oh, nice! I can't believe. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Wow!
So this is Bret Hart's book.
Don't you have that book already though?
No, I it's in my Kindle.
Oh,
and
it's not
my
hard copy.
Favorite. It's probably one of my favorite books. I read it 3 times now, and I never had the hardcover. And he describes his illustrations, but the Kindle doesn't have the illustrations.
Wow!
So thank you, Brian. And he came across all these books. I think his cousin gave them to him. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so reading this again. And then
you have the hard copy. You have
right. He was like, no, you're not having that one because he's also a Bret Hart mark. And then he actually gave it to me. I love it. Oh my god. This is so cool. Okay.
Now I'm about to text Brian right now.
So I gotta remember people that are listening. So Bret Hart's book. This is Sex, Lies, and Headlocks: The Real Story of Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation.
That I want to read, especially if you guys grew up in Attitude
Oh my
it was called WWF.
What is it? So I don't know if you know this, but I'm like low key fascinated
Dynamite
by
Kid?
Dynamite Kid, yes, and like literally like fascinated by him, and yeah. So this is Pure Dynamite: The Price You Pay for Wrestling Stardom.
Yeah, that book is probably gonna make you cry because he's been through some stuff.
Ooh, this is gonna be good. Thank you, Brian H. Waters. I am very excited to add this to my collection. I'm gonna send you some of my books that I have, some books that I have. I love book swaps. But yay! Has anyone ever read any of these books? Do you think they're gonna be good? Dynamite's book.
You know what book I want on hard copy? The Bella's book.
Oh, you don't have that?
I don't have hard copy. I only have it on my phone.
Oh, I ordered the autograph one.
Oh, I mean, well, then that's yours. They autographed it.
They were doing like a little signing, and I was like, that was during the pandemic when like I was burning money. Like
we all were, because we was getting them stimmies, and we were like,
I was like, oh yeah, let me get this. I was so proud of them, but I'm excited to talk about Miss Elizabeth. I'm excited to continue riding this TWG wave. Our support, like we honestly cannot thank you all enough. The love is real. Yeah, let's take this.
Love is super real, but we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna jump into this Miss Elizabeth tea because she's gonna get all these flowers.
Do it.
me, Queen P.R, one half of those wrestling girls, and our friends over at Ripple Junction want us to remind you that all of our favorite designs, including this Roy's War shirt, have gotten relaunched in new designs and a variety of new colors. And you can get a t-shirt for all your favorite fandoms, whether it's The Office, your favorite movies, your favorite brands. There's everything over at Ripple Junction. And don't forget to use the code Those Wrestling Girls to save 15% off. So what are you waiting for? Go on Ripple Junction, use those code Those Wrestling Girls, and post your shirts on social media and tag Ripple Junction.
And we're back. So now we're going to jump right into Miss Elizabeth. Before we get into like the facts and we break myths and things like that about her, P, what did you think of Miss Elizabeth? Like, who did you think she was? Like, when you first saw her, do you remember when you first saw her? Of course, we weren't born yet when like she was active. But like when you saw her, like what were your first thoughts about Miss Elizabeth?
I think the first time I saw her was probably when they did like recap, like flashbacks of stuff in the past. So I didn't really I didn't know like as a kid growing up as a wrestling fan like Miss Elizabeth's significance. I knew who she was, absolutely. I knew who Macho Man was. I always liked him. I always liked his voice, and I knew like who she was, but it never really registered like how influential she ended up being. It wasn't until I got back into wrestling like around like 2013, 2014 when I got into like the network and I watched all these, documentaries and stuff. And that's when I was like, wow, like Miss Elizabeth was like the first lady of women's wrestling, and the legacy of women's wrestling is very, complicated, but she was kind of the first one who was presented in a very, presentable way. Like she was acknowledged for her beauty. She was acknowledged for her grace. She was acknowledged, and that was very appealing to me. And then realizing like, and I, that's what our show's about, is like pointing out like how impactful like women are in like big storylines, and sometimes they don't get like that due, but like Miss Elizabeth does. Like she was a part of a lot of amazing moments. So when I kind of got reintroduced to her was when I kind of respected her. But I just remember her being, as a kid, very beautiful, very elegant, and the way they edit her and Macho Man's dynamic is really beautiful. But we'll get to that.
Get into
but
it,
yeah, when did you first kind of discover the magic of Miss Elizabeth?
When she was sitting in a crowd and she was seeing how Sensational Sherry was turning on Macho Man, and she like ran out into the crowd and beat up Sensational Sherry and like stood right next to Macho Man, and the crowd was cheering and crying, and and it was just like they're back together, and the real couple of WWF at the time, and things like that. And then it was just like you would see her like little vignettes pop up every now and again, or whatever the case may be, like that. And then I really didn't hear about her again until, sadly, her passing. I didn't know she was in WCW and then the whole NWO thing, because I was a diehard WWE fan. Like I didn't care anything about WCW. It didn't care. But like, and then like to go back and to watch her beginnings in WWF, that golden era, WrestleMania time and all that stuff, sitting next to Macho Man, and then learning the truth in the sense, like watching, I believe there's a documentary on her, or like how it really happened. There's something on her, and I watched, and just learning about everything that she'd been through. It was very traumatic, and their relationship was very tumultuous.
And being older now, and having had our own life experiences as a female, and us being in this wrestling space, to hear some of the things that she has gone through, and it's like, there's definitely like, and I'm glad Dark Side of the Ring covered the dark side of it, and they titled it A Match Made in Heaven, but like
that's what it was. I was watching then, because I was just like, I know it was something. It was definitely Dark Side of the Ring, yeah.
And it was like, was it A Match Made in Heaven? But so Miss Elizabeth met Macho Man in like the late 70s, I believe, and I think at a gym. And I was reading up on her. I didn't know that she was Miss Kentucky. I'm sorry. Which I can see, because she's absolutely
I'm gonna say, how can she not be?
Like, she's gorgeous. And she got into wrestling through Randy Savage, of course. And his father had a promotion, and she did a little bit of everything there. And it's funny because in Dark Side of the Ring, Macho Man talks about them meeting, and one story it's love at first sight, the other story, it's not. It's more like he kind of like,
kept pushing, and yeah.
I mean, I can see anyone falling in love with Miss Elizabeth at first sight. Like, she was glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went with him to WWF at the time. And they wanted to give Randy Savage a manager, and he was like, "Why not my wife?" And well, they weren't married at the time, but like, and then everyone saw her, and it was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it." The thing about them is, though, like, at first we think, oh, from outside looking in, we think, oh, it's so sweet, like he wants her near his side through all of this, and then come to find out there was some control issues.
Absolutely,
There was
100%.
some abuse issues. Like, that's like a control mental abuse situation.
For sure. There was definitely insinuations that he was controlling. He was maybe not physically abusive, but there's a lot of other ways men can control women in their lives than being like physical.
Yeah.
And so it's like this fine line, because you do want to protect her because she's in this like crazy I can't only imagine locker rooms back then, especially like in the 80s.
It's just
in the
giving
90s.
It's
Grossness.
Disgust. Like, it's
Smells
just giving.
and just the way women were treated. And I'm sure, of course, he loved her very much, and I'm sure like in his mind he thought he was protecting her by keeping her in a cage. And I remember Hulk Hogan's wife talking about how she felt very stifled, she felt very trapped and suffocated. And in your mind it's like, I'm trying to protect you, but it's also like, did she have free will?
Right.
I was listening to all these YouTube channels, doing things about her, about how when she wasn't on the road with him, how he would put a certain amount of TV dinners in the fridge of how many days he was going to be gone, so she didn't have to leave the house for any reason, and all these crazy things. And that's when they, like you said, it's like, okay, that's when it gets towards abuse, where
That's
it's like,
control.
why are you controlling like my every move? But they debuted in August 24th, 1985, which is crazy. And she was a phenomenon. Her and Macho Man were the perfect, I hate to keep using these words because we're talking about the kind of the other underbelly of it all, but he was this, wild, like crazy, you don't know what he's gonna do.
Can't
And then
be
you have
type.
not at all. You don't even understand his
situation.
promos half the time. You just know that he's yelling and it sounds good. He's going to be intense.
Right. He didn't even know what he was saying in half those promos. He was just like, I was just talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, now you look at it, we can tell. We can tell you were just talking.
Definitely tell you were just talking. And she was just the quiet, demure, Miss Elizabeth. And okay. So like I said earlier, when they edit the magic of Miss Elizabeth,
perfect.
They make their dynamic look like it was just this like beautiful partnership, and they were at each other's side. But he was very much giving abusive and aggressive. I was watching clips of like him hitting her over the head with flowers and like talking to her crazy and like, ordering her around, like, and this is the gimmick, like this is on TV, like this is in interviews, and it's very much, and I understand that it was supposed to be like Macho Man the heel and sort of Miss Elizabeth the face, ultimately making them both faces because everybody loved them so much, but he was horrible to her. And people at first didn't really like it, but like different times, I guess. But then when you know what was going on backstage, it's like, like,
what part of it is real, what part of it is not?
Right. Exactly.
It makes you do that eyebrow. It makes you raise a couple of eyebrows, and it's just like, my thing is that, and it sucks because for every female that was back there during that time, there had to have been about like 5 to 10 guys.
Yeah, maybe even more.
Or maybe even more. So you had Miss Elizabeth, you had Sensational Sherry, you had Woman, aka Nancy Benoit. You had, and these were like just managers, not even like the women wrestlers like Wendy Richter and Moolah was there too, I guess, whatever. Like, you didn't have those. So for all of that to happen to her or go through all of that, and there's not much that she could have done, and it wasn't much of a support system, because all of the guys, like, they can probably say something,
Right.
but they're really not going to overstep their boundaries when it
Right.
comes down to a man and woman's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen where it's just like, oh, well, that's their business. That's
Yep.
what they go through. That's none of my business.
Or he's
Lay
doing
hands
the
on her,
right
but that's none of
thing.
my business.
He's protecting his woman, he's
Mhm.
making sure, like, keeping her locked in the locker room. And I hate to keep talking about Hulk Hogan's wife, but in Dark Side of the Ring, and I think her perspective is interesting because they were kind of like the counterpart. There weren't many people, because you have Hulk Hogan, you have Macho Man, and they were the wives of the top guys in the business. So it's like, who else you can relate to? And I remember Linda talking about how a lot of times, like, her and Miss Elizabeth were the only women in at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, and she would say, like, how she would be in the locker room by herself. He would keep her in there. And it's like, when you use phrasing like keep her in the room, and it gets like really like, like, was this her choice? Like, or literally she couldn't leave the room. Like, it's one of those things. I also read a rumor where he made her rehearse going in and out of the ring, because she would wear like these beautiful dresses that were a little tight or a little short, and he would make sure, like,
nothing slipped,
nothing slipped, you couldn't see anything, wouldn't compromise her. And, like, when you hear that, it's like, okay, that's really sweet. And then it makes you think like how wild things got in the Attitude Era, where it's like, okay, I'm making you rehearse this so we don't see your panties, and then fast forward 15 years later, we're gonna have bra and panty matches where
we're gonna have Triple H telling a girl to show her boobs.
Yo, I don't know if I was in my 20s during the Attitude Era, what would we be doing? Like, I don't know.
To be honest, if we were in our 20s,
I was wild.
To be honest, if we were in our 20s during the Attitude Era, and we were like diehard fans, because we was in that stage where you were watching it.
Right.
One of two things: we were probably ordering pay-per-view, Playboy after that, or we were in the Yellow Pages looking for a quick hookup. That's it. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be honest. That's just what it was.
And I would, if like, I'm really like, okay, if Triple H asked me, I don't know how we got on this topic, but if Triple H asked me to lift my shirt up, like, would I do it?
Not me. He wasn't really my cup of tea until he came back from his leg injury.
Oh, with the leather jacket.
And everybody went ape shit. Okay.
Yeah, that was an amazing night. But so I do like that Miss Elizabeth did work in wrestling. Like, she wasn't just a valet. Like, she was a ring announcer. She was a manager. Like, she was involved in a lot of things. Like we said before, she was the catalyst in a lot of feuds. She managed a lot of people, more than Macho Man. And of course, Hulk Hogan and the mega powers. We have to talk about
the mega powers, because it was just like,
I mean, that's just like epic wrestling history lore. Like, we have to go there.
This is why I miss WWE Network, because I would really want to go back and watch that like right now.
Me too. I mean, you can, but it's hard to find. It's not easy to search. Like, Peacock is the worst. But that was one of those things, and it was like long-term planning, like a year out. Like, it was like, okay, this is what we want this at WrestleMania, so we're going to start setting this up. So at this time, like, Randy Savage, Macho Man, Randy Savage and Macho Man, Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. He's already Hulk Hogan, whatever. Now Macho Man's becoming a face. Everybody loves him. So now it's like, okay, it's time to get him out of the Intercontinental Championship picture. Let's get him up there with Hulk Hogan. And what better way to do that than with Miss Elizabeth? And Miss Elizabeth and Hulk Hogan had a friendly relationship. I think everyone had the utmost respect for her. So, and Randy Savage was very jealous. And he thought everyone had eyes for Miss Elizabeth. I wish I could do his voice and how he was accusing Hulk Hogan.
Oh, and the vignette thing, yeah.
Yes, like, I can see it in your eyes. Really paranoid. So they were a tag team. They were a dominating tag team, as you can imagine. And Miss Elizabeth was their valet, and she was trying to give attention to her other, client, Hulk Hogan, just as much as, her Macho Man, and he didn't like that. And then there was a match they were having, and Miss Elizabeth got hurt, and Hulk Hogan actually left the match to
And
attend
carried
to
her out.
her.
Yeah.
And Macho Man stayed in the ring, and then afterward, that's when it just got real.
It got super real, and it was just like, so it turned from that, and Hulk is just like, no. And this, y'all, I want y'all to know right now, this is probably the only time in life where I would stand up for Hulk Hogan. Okay,
Oof.
so we just going to clear that up right now. But Hulk was just like, no, it's not like that. She was hurt. I saw that she was hurt, and you was busy in the match, and you had everything under control. So I was just trying to make sure she's okay, because not only does she manage you, she manages me. I don't want her. I don't see her that way. She's this, she's that. But she's a part of our team. Macho Man was not trying to hear it.
He wasn't trying to hear none of that. He said, I knew it. Like, he just knew. And then you have poor little Miss Elizabeth, like, because she's like the helpless damsel in distress type of character, and a lot of girls looked up to her, like when I watch a lot of, like, especially female wrestlers, because again, like, there were not female wrestlers
She was
to
just
look
so
up to.
poised and so classy.
Right, like, she was the female to look up to, and she was always fabulously dressed and carried herself very well, and all that rehearsing getting out of the ring worked, because it was very polished. It was very, she looked very dainty, and like wrestling back then, especially in the 80s, you had like these big muscle, like everybody's yelling and screaming and spinning and sweaty and all this, and then you just have Miss Elizabeth and like this angel light, and
it was like she's
glowing.
I don't know if you watched Encanto, and you've never seen Encanto. Okay, I need you to get somebody's Disney Plus subscription. Anyway, okay. And it's just like she was like the Isabella. So Isabella in Encanto, she's the one who like grows the flowers, and she's just so dainty, and everybody loves her. Everybody's drawn to her. So Miss Elizabeth would be today's Isabella of Encanto.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. So everybody loved her. Everybody appreciated her, and then I just feel like not even like in the height of Golden Era, Miss Elizabeth was attacked by snakes during the wedding between her and Randy Savage. She opened that box and it was a wrap.
It was a wrap.
She was attacked by snakes. Like, she literally endured and withstand kind of everything. And I feel like the icing on the cake, and that's when people was just like really upset, was when Randy Savage turned on Miss Elizabeth and went with Sherry. And then it was just like the way that they played it as if, she was always going to come as a regular audience member.
Yeah.
Like, people were irate that they didn't see Miss Elizabeth. Upset that they didn't see Miss Elizabeth. Yeah. And I'm just like, yo, yeah, I need and me watching it, not me rewatching stuff like clips and stuff, like, what? Like,
and I can only imagine how emotionally invested people were at this time. And I kind of envy people that grew up watching wrestling at that time, because it was so much easier to suspend disbelief, or whatever the phrase is, because there was no social media. There were dirt sheets, but it wasn't like that. And you wanted to be mystified. You wanted to be like, okay, this is like, so Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man to people were like, it was in their hearts. People loved Miss Elizabeth. So to see Macho Man, when he used to treat her like shit, and now it's like you turned your back on her. And now, and Sensational Sherry, if Miss Elizabeth was the angel glowing, Sensational Sherry, or Scary Sherry, whatever you want to call her, was like on the other extreme of that. I don't want to say devil, but she was the dark.
She was the devil. It was like, you got to call it what it is. It was like the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the next shoulder.
Right. It was
the devil's all about fun and play and no consequences. Yeah. And she's very, the angel's like very concerned, very meticulous, very aware. Like, this is good, this is bad. We shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. Polar opposites.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was a magical moment. I think everyone knows that moment more than anything, even if they were born 10 years ago or 50 years ago. They remember that moment when Sherry turned on Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth got up out of her seat and she ran in that ring and she put the beats on Sensational Sherry and got back with Macho Man. And there are people, grown people, kids in the crowd crying. Like you would have thought their parents got back together. That's how much people valued this couple. And the crazy thing is, so not long after this, they get back together in kayfabe. Where when they were on, this is when like the golden era of WWF, where things were on fire. These were the 80s. Like the storylines were like really dope, and long term and everything like that. So not long after this moment, they get married. So at this time, their marriage is actually like on the rocks. Like they're, because no one knew that they were married in real life. Mm-hmm. Like that was, their real life or whatever. And then they have this wedding, this, wrestling wedding, and which kicks off wrestling weddings. We should definitely do a wrestling wedding episode, maybe for Patreon. That would be really cool because there's a lot. We could do like a watch along or something. But anyway.
True. I just named 3 in my head.
I'm like, there's so many, and they're always like epic in their own way. And I think it kicked off with Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't really, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like after that wrestling wedding, I don't think there was really a monumental one than the Test Stephanie Triple H
100%
wedding.
And I remember like, that vividly. That had a
that's when I realized, like, watching Grown Age, we was promoting
date rape. We were.
We ain't shit. Attitude Era fucked us up.
Absolutely were. That's it. We definitely watched on a Titantron as someone married a unconscious woman. And insinuated on anyway, but Miss Elizabeth's wedding was magical and it was supposed to be really beautiful and it was very romantic and she looked gorgeous. And it's one of those moments, I think, as at least a WWF wrestling fan or even a wrestling fan in general that you just know of and you're just going to remember.
True. So then like Golden Era started to like dwindle down. Mm-hmm. Attitude Era was starting to come about. Macho Man left. Miss Elizabeth left. Their marriage did not last. They got divorced. And then it just went to like everybody just jumping ship, going to WCW, and everybody was a part of NWO. And then Miss Elizabeth meets Lex Luger. Well, she already probably knew Lex Luger in WWF, but then. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't go well.
It's funny because when we put out our question about Miss Elizabeth, what we should mention, a lot of people liked her time in NWO. Now, I never watched a lot of Nitro, or like you said, WCW, we are diehard WWE fans, and there was something like very like out of place for me when I see clips of Miss Elizabeth in NWO or even in WCW, because WWE is so good at that, like framing your mind about who someone is. And she was so like, Miss Elizabeth, like she's this demure, royal, regal type person who doesn't get her hands dirty, who doesn't, curse or like yell, and she's soft spoken and, demure. And then seeing her in like WCW, like not in that context, like wearing t-shirts and like
it was cut up,
not as she was not as poised, and later on, like she was going through a lot of stuff, but I never really liked it. Never really connected with me. Some people do like her work in NWO and stuff like that. She was getting in the mix. Did you see any of her in WCW? Did you even know?
I didn't. Around that time, WCW, my friends were watching WCW, and I don't even think in them watching it, her name was brought up, because around that time, it was always the 4 who came from the 4, Eddie, Chris, Dean, and Perry. Like, it was always those 4. Then you had Goldberg, then you had Sting, then of course you had NWO, Nash, Hall, did what they did, Hogan joined, then you had like all these basketball stars, Rodman and everybody was a part of NWO. Like it wasn't even nothing exclusive about it.
After a while it just got that way. And then you add Miss Elizabeth, which seems so random, but she did debut at a Clash of Champions, which in 96, like that's if you're gonna debut, I mean, Clash of
Right.
Champions in WCW, that's a pretty dope thing to do. Managing Randy Savage and Macho, I'm gonna keep fucking saying that. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. So it was reminiscent of what happened, what we know of her in WWF, but it wasn't.
It wasn't
Hulk
the
Hogan,
same.
they're both heels at this time. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, I guess that was different. And then you have this different Miss Elizabeth. So I would love for you guys to let us know some of your favorite Miss Elizabeth moments in WCW, because there are people that listen to our podcast that were WCW heads. But I would love to know. But I can't connect with her in at watching Nitro. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It
It
just
doesn't sit
doesn't
well. Like, it kind
doesn't
of breaks that
connect with me.
facade of
Yeah, it
facade.
just
Sorry.
doesn't. But she did have a hard time when she got to WCW. But before we get into sort of the tragic end of her death, I do want to talk about something that I know people talk about it, but I just want to talk about it some more, and that is her fashion and her style. Her fits were like, oh my God, I'm going to find, I think what I'm going to do when we post this episode is find all of my favorite Miss Elizabeth outfits, because it was a different time. There aren't a lot of photos, but her dresses and her makeup always
Like,
looked.
even her casual wear, like when she jumped in the ring that day, she had like a
Yes.
long type cardigan or
Ooh,
like
yes. It was
pullover
like a
and some
pullover
skinny
sweater
pants. Yeah, some skinny
with
pants
some
with some shoes.
heels.
Yeah, like
She
she.
used to kill it. Her accessories, her
Mm-hmm.
hair, her makeup, the tailor, whoever tailored her dresses, like, they made sure Miss Elizabeth looked
She was on point.
on point every time. I've never seen her not understand the assignment in WWF, whatever you want to call it. And I just have to put that out there. Like, I look back at some of her outfits, and I also really like 80s fashion because I like the prints and like the colors.
I
And
love the prints and the
she,
colors. The poofy, not it
no, yeah,
depends.
no, poofy,
But the
no, but
prints and the colors,
so it's a lot of things that she
absolutely.
wears. I'm just like, oh my God, that's so cute. I came across these photos of her in the gym, and she had on like these gym shorts with like the sports bra, and it was like this purple print with like some Reeboks, I think. And I was like, oh, go ahead, girl. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she was very. I just had to take a moment and talk about her style. If you guys have any, because I know a lot of our listeners, they have photos, random photos and stuff like that. Please share these Miss Elizabeth photos. If you've ever been to a live show back in the day and seen Miss Elizabeth live, we would love to know what it was like to see her live. Just because that magic, I can just like, that's why I wanted to call this the magic of Miss Elizabeth, because she really brought something to the presentation of wrestling at that time, but also to Macho Man, who and is probably one of the best, most famous wrestlers in the entire world. And I don't think he
Mm-hmm.
would have gotten there with his character without Miss Elizabeth. What do you
I
think?
agree. I agree. Not to keep bringing it up, but it was just sad. Like, they faltered in real life. They had
Right.
to shift and break in wrestling world, and then Miss Elizabeth is tied to Lex Luger, and it just goes downhill from there. Drugs, alcohol, addiction is heavy, it's
Yeah.
real, and she was trying to maintain and handle it. But in this business, when you're overwhelmed and you can't seem to, you already know, like you kind of in a messed up place
Right.
with your job when the storylines don't make sense, or your contracts are not this or what it was, or what you was promised. So with the money that you do have, you're gonna turn to something. You're gonna turn to your vice. Everybody has their vices.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's definitely true.
and I was really baffled by the fact that although Lex Luger was accused, and maybe you guys can correct me on this or whatever, although he was accused, it was like and blamed essentially for her death because they were together and she died of a
Yeah.
drug overdose
And
in his
because
house.
she was so beloved.
Right. Everybody was just like, of course he repented. He's a priest, a preacher, a priest of he's in the church now. Um,
Yeah, he's also been through a lot.
he's been through a lot. And he's so unrecognizable.
Yeah.
He's so unrecognizable. Like you
Wrestlers
wouldn't
and
even know if
from
that was
that
him.
age, Yeah, wrestlers from that time, unfortunately, most of them died young. Most of them are not doing well now. And Miss Elizabeth was one of those people. She was a product of that environment at the time. Lex Luger definitely is very regretful of just his whole time with her because it was a lot of drug use. I was reading up, and they were both actually married at the time that they got together. And
yeah, they were in different relationships. Yep.
yeah, and they left their partners for each other, and it sounds like it was a pretty toxic situation on both their parts. And to think that this poor 100-pound female was doing just as much drugs as Lex Luger, who was like a wrestler, like
Probably like
who knows how much he
190,
weighed. Yeah,
2 something.
is terrifying. And for somebody that was so beloved in wrestling, like we talked about the magic of her and how she glowed, and how a lot of little girls looked up to her who liked wrestling because there were no other females to look up to at the time. And then to hear that her life came to end at just 42.
42.
That's now that I'm 32, one of my sisters is about to be 50.
It's still relatively young.
It's very young. Like, no one should be losing their lives at 42. And sadly, a lot of wrestlers died young that came from that era. And she was just one of those casualties.
Right. But I feel like, although we don't have her in the present with us, I feel like her and Randy are set in such a better place, up and up heavens above. They're together. They're happy. And she and her Sensational Sherry, they over here starting on everybody. Okay?
Yes.
Like, when it's my turn to go, hundreds of years from now, I'm gonna go to the wrestling club over there.
Meet up with everybody.
You gonna meet up with everybody? Like, hey y'all, what's up? How you been? How you doing? Maintaining, living life? No, but I feel like. Go ahead.
I want to know now, being that we're 32, we are women's wrestling fans now. It's 2022, recording this, and we have now been women in the wrestling space. Like, we work in it. We're respected in this realm. What is Miss Elizabeth's legacy now?
I was just about to answer that. See, you're in my head, sis. You're in my head.
Yeah.
I just feel like Miss Elizabeth's legacy is definitely filled with a lot of poise, with a lot of respect, a lot of regard. Like, you can never sit here, even though she went through something tragic and it ended so tragically, her life ended so tragically, you can never sit here and have, when she mentioned Miss Elizabeth's name, have anything bad to say.
That's true.
Her legacy will forever be the main one, the main manager, the main valet, the one that everybody that just literally walked into the place with style and grace. If you know, you know.
Yes.
And that's just it. Like,
that's the epitome of Miss Elizabeth.
She's the epitome. Like, if we would mention somebody like Sunny, we can exactly. She's just one of the people that you cannot. Miss Elizabeth is just one of the people that you cannot say anything bad about.
Yeah.
Like, so her legacy will forever live on in this business as the waymaker. She paved the way.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally the epitome of what women, of the growth of what women, have succeeded. And I feel like if she was here today to watch these women of today, ooh, child.
She'd be so happy. Right. It's funny because I was just thinking, like, would she get in the ring? And I'm like, Macho Man would have never letting her take bumps or anything like that. He would absolutely not. I'm sure if they even thought about it, he was probably like, no. Like, she did take bumps, but I don't think, I was like, would he let her train as a wrestler? I doubt it.
If she was alive now, she probably would have been well off, and like, she passed away. She probably been like in her 60s right now.
Yeah.
So she's not. I mean, never say never. We had Mae Young going off the tables and taking bumps and
and told people, do not take it easy on me.
Mm-hmm. The Dudleys.
I will be upset if you take it easy on me. And I'm glad we're doing the golden era, because we could do Moolah, we can do Mae Young.
I don't want to do Moolah.
Okay. I was gonna do like a
I mean, we have to, essentially. We do have to.
We'll say, when we feel like it. When we feel like it. But I do want to do Mae Young because she's fun and I heard good things about her. But about Miss Elizabeth, I think her lasting legacy is basically everything that you said. I think for little girls, because I just think about female wrestling fans. Like if we feel like we're far in where it's not a lot of us now, imagine what it was back then and how there was no community or anything like that. So to look up to Miss Elizabeth, I think was so special at that time. I think her legacy is, being the first lady of wrestling and, being a part of what made Macho Man special, in my opinion, and her style and her fashion, the way she carries herself. I think females in wrestling are always going to take something from that. And I'm glad that we finally got to cover her because, she's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, I do want to, I'm so sorry. I know we're like winding down, but I want to mention and we didn't mention like the Ric Flair and Macho Man feud, but we're going to start doing after show. So we're going to get to that. But she managed the following wrestlers: Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff, Scott Hall, Lex Luger, Chris Benoit, Sting, Dusty Rhodes, Brutus Beefcake, and the factions that she was affiliated with, the Mega Powers, of course, Four Horsemen, NWO, Millionaires Club, and she was always considered the first lady of wrestling. And I just think it's so cool. She's always known for the Mega Powers, but she was out here.
She out here. Just like she was out here. PR, not myself. We're outside. We outside. We outside.
Let's I want to plug some events since we're gonna be outside, and then I'm done, I promise.
We'll see.
So you mentioned your event May 28th in Brooklyn. I'm so excited for that. Your brunch and panel. And then next Friday by the time this comes out, Invictus Pro. I know you've been hearing about it, guys. And Takeover versus Shane Taylor Productions is going to be amazing.
It's going to be bananas. It's going to be bananas.
Is definitely, I think the Jay Bougie and Rev feud is probably like the feud of the year already. Like it's all everyone's talking about. It became Crocs versus Ring Light conversation. But yeah, be there. We actually having a flash sale right now. So all tickets are $25. So definitely take advantage of that. And then Juneteenth weekend, Pretty Hills is throwing Black Wrestle Fest. There's going to be a panel. There's going to be a brunch. There's going to be a lot of fun things in Brooklyn as well. And then August 19th is Black Girl Magic, followed by Jobber Slam the next day in Brooklyn as well. It's going to be a fun summer. So if you're in the New York, New Jersey area.
Oh, and July 25th, we're going to be on Monday Night Raw, Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden, yay. Oh, and I will be at, hopefully you too, Krista, I will be at SummerSlam. So if you're going to be there, let me check the venue.
Well, check in with us, tap in with us. We love you guys. We love to hear from you guys. We love to see you guys in person. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms, Those Wrestling Girls. Subscribe to our YouTube and our Patreon. Make sure you buy tickets to my event because you don't want to miss out. It's going to be a lit situation. Food, drinks, good conversations. Again, everything Black-owned businesses, Black women supporting Black women. It's just going to be a phenomenal time. Make sure you follow me, Miss_Krista B_ on Instagram, Miss_Krista B on Twitter. Make sure you follow my business pages, Unapologetically Eclectic, on all social media platforms.
And you can follow me on everything at Queen _PR and follow Jersey Indie because I started blogging for them again. So you'll see weekly blogs about all type of stuff, a lot of wrestling stuff, but also like life stuff, which is really good. It's fun to have an outlet. Journal, right, guys? It's very helpful for your mental health. But yeah, that's where to find me. I want to celebrate our 4th anniversary Comic-Con weekend in New York. So maybe like October 9th-ish. So keep that date open. It's a great reason to come to New York. So stay tuned for more details.
And on that note, it's your girl Krista B.
And Queen PR.
We're out of here. Bye.
Queen P.R, Krista B, Those Wrestling Girls, TWG, Black Excellence, making it effortless, podcast bringing up women in and wrestling. Let's go.